Good afternoon, everyone. I am Elizaris T. Mandanga, one of the reporters of Unit 3, Lesson 1, which is Bilingual Education and the Bilingual Education Policy, BEP, in the Philippines. Learning goals. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to first, understand the four-language situation that could affect a bilingual education policy. Second, examine the Philippine Bilingual Education Policy document to fully understand its goal, implementing mechanism, and challenges encountered in the language education, and write a personal account of your language education experience. Bilingualism is used to describe the two languages of an individual. Specifically, it refers to the ability of an individual to use two languages. On the other hand, diglossia is a term that is used to refer to the use of two languages in the societal level. Fishman 1980 in Baker 2006 characterizes diglossia as the presence of a majority and minority language in a specific geographical or which each language is used for a specific purpose, audience, and context. So, bilingualism refers to an individual's ability to use two languages. It's about being a proficient in two languages and being able to communicate effectively in both. A person who speaks both English and Filipino Tagalog is considered bilingual. They can switch between the two languages depending on the situation, audience, or context. Fishman identifies four language situations where bilingualism and diglossia may exist with or without each other, as shown in the table below. Situation 1, diglossia and bilingualism together. Everyone in the community uses the majority and the minority language. For instance, the majority language is used for education and government, while the minority language is used in the family and local neighborhood. In the first situation, diglossia and bilingualism, everyone in the community speaks both the majority and minority languages, but they use them in different parts of life. For example, one at school and work, and the other at home and the neighborhood. A bilingual education policy would work really well here because people are already comfortable switching between the two languages. School can support and strengthen both languages by using each one where it makes the most sense, helping students stay connected to their culture while also succeeding academically. Situation 2, diglossia without bilingualism. One group of participants speaks one language, while the other group speaks a different language. In the second situation, diglossia without bilingualism, here people in the community speak different languages, but each group only knows their own. One group might use their language for official things like school and government, while another uses a different language in their homes and communities. This makes bilingual education more difficult because most students won't understand one of the two languages at first. The policy would need to focus on helping children learn the second language early on before they can use it for learning other subjects. The next is situation 3, bilingualism without diglossia. Most people are bilingual and does not restrict the use of any language to a specific purpose or context. In the third situation, in this case, most people speak two languages and use them freely in all kinds of situations, without rules about when to use or which one. A bilingual education policy can be very flexible here because students already feel comfortable switching between languages. Teachers can use both languages in the classroom naturally depending on the topic or the needs of the students. This kind of environment supports creativity and strong communication skills. The last situation is situation 4, neither bilingualism nor diglossia. A linguistically diverse community was forced to convert into a monolingual one. In the first situation, this is the hardest situation for bilingual education. The community only speaks one language now, often because they were forced to give up their other languages in the past. People may not see the need for another language or may even be suspicious of it. To make bilingual education work here, it would take the time, trust, and support. Schools would need to gently introduce the second language, explain its value, and make sure students and families feel encouraged and respected throughout the process. Philippines has two official languages, English and Filipino. English, also known as the global language, is commonly used for formal and business communication, while Filipino is recognized as the national language. Such status afforded to these two languages were first refined in the bilingual education policy promulgated in 1974 when the Department of Education, DECS at the time, mandated the use of English and Filipino as the media of instruction for both primary and secondary schools. The Philippines has two official languages, English and Filipino, which play important roles in the country's education system. English is widely used in formal and business settings, while Filipino is the national language that represents the country's identity. So in 1974, the Department of Education implemented a bilingual education policy which required the use of both English and Filipino as languages of instructions in school. In 1987, the advocacy of pursuing a bilingual nation competent in both Filipino and English, Gonzales and Sibayan, 1988, was strengthened by the 1987 Constitution, identifying Filipino as the language of instruction in the subject of Filipino and Araling Panlipunan, and English as LOI, MOI for math and science. So, this policy was reinforced by the 1987 Constitution, which aimed to create a bilingual nation competent in both languages. The policy specified the use of Filipino for subjects like Filipino and social studies, English for subjects like math and science. So, this bilingual education policy aims to equip Filipino students with proficiency in both English and Filipino, preparing them for various contexts and opportunities. So, that's all for my part. And now I will give the virtual floor to the next reporter. Thank you and God bless.
Okay, so good afternoon everyone. My name is Angeline Ejano and today I will be discussing a significant aspect of our education system, the Philippine Bilingual Education Policy, commonly known as BEP. This policy is crucial for understanding how we learn and communicate in our diverse linguistic environment. So, consistent with the 1987 constitutional mandate and declared policy of the National Board of Education (NBE) on bilingualism in the schools, NBE Resolution Number 73 to 7, 1973, the Department of Education, Culture and Sports (DEX) promulgated its language policy. So, the bilingual education policy is consistent daw with the 1987 constitutional mandate and the National Board Education declared policy on bilingualism in schools. So specifically outlined in NBE Resolution Number 73 to 7 from 1973. The Department Education, Culture and Sports or DEX first implemented this policy in 1974 through Department Order Number 25 titled Implementing Guidelines for the Policy on Bilingual Education. So, bilingual education in the Philippines is defined as the separate use of Filipino and English as the media of instruction in specific subject areas. According to DEX Order Number 25, Filipino is used as the medium of instruction in subjects like social studies, music, arts, and physical education. In English, it is allocated to subjects such as science, mathematics, and technologies. So, the same subject allocation is provided in the 1987 Policy on Bilingual Education, which is disseminated through Department Order Number 52 to 1987. Here are the policy of bilingual education. Okay, we have letter A. The policy on bilingual education aims at the achievement of competence in both Filipino and English at the national level through the teaching of both languages and their use as media of instruction at all levels. So the regional languages shall be used as auxiliary languages in grades 1 and 2. And the aspiration of the Filipino notion is to have its citizens possess skills in Filipino to enable them to perform their functions and duties in order to meet the needs of the country and the community of nations. And letter B, we have Number 1, to enhance learning utilizing two languages to improve the quality of education as mandated by the 1987 Constitution. Number 2, we have propagation of Filipino promoting Filipino as language of literacy. And number 3, we have national and unity and identity, developing Filipino as a linguistic symbol of national and unity and identity rather. And number 4, we have intellectualism of Filipino cultivating and elaborating on Filipino as language of scholarly discourse, ensuring its ongoing development and sophistication. And the last one, we have maintenance of English, recognizing English as an international language for the Philippines and as a vital language for science and technology. Okay, so I think that concludes my part. I'm going to give the virtual floor to the next reporter. Thank you.
So good day everyone. Since the previous reporter already reported the letter A and the letter B, and now I'm going to report or going to proceed to the letter C. The policy is as follows, or letter C. So Filipino and English shall be used as a media of instruction. The use allocated to specific subject in the curriculum indicated in the Department Order Number 25 S 1974. So Filipino and English is the main language in school. So subject will be taught, it's either Filipino or English depending on what curriculum says. This is based on the rule made in 1974 and Department Order 25 in 1974. And letter D, we have the regional languages shall be used as auxiliary media of instruction and is initial language for literacy where needed. So letter D, use of regional languages. So local or regional languages like Cebuano, Ilocano, or other languages or indigenous languages, so can be used, to help students understand lessons, especially in early grades or where needed. So in that way, they can fully understand the context or the lessons because the teacher uses the language where they are capable or they are fluent or their mother tongue. So next we have letter E. So Filipino and English shall be taught as language subject in school levels to achieve the goals of bilingual competence. So teaching Filipino and English as subject, both Filipino and English will be taught in school to help students become good in both languages. So since these two languages are the most common used languages in our society, just like or informal setting like in school or in a company, or you're going to apply informal activity. And letter F, since competence in the use of both Filipino and English is one of the goals of bilingual education policy. So improving language in teaching. So school and teachers should keep improving how they teach Filipino and English and how they use these languages in different subjects. Or we also need to be capable in teaching these languages in these languages. In that way, we can teach the right thing. Diba? There's a saying that you cannot give what you don't have. So you really need to be capable in teaching languages in order for you to teach good, in order for you to teach the right way. So next we have letter G. Tertiary level institutions shall lead in the continuing intellectualization of Filipino, the program of intellectualization, however, shall also be pursued in both the elementary and secondary levels. So colleges and universities help develop Filipino. Higher education institution will help make Filipino a stronger and smarter when it comes to language. And this effort should also start in elementary as well as in high school. So this concern should be addressed, or the students should be exposed, no, in as early as elementary or high school into the language. So in that way, they can it can be a step. It can be a step in order for them to fully understand the language and the foundation of their knowledge when it comes to language. And we have letter H. The Department of Education, Culture, and Sports shall provide the means by which the language policy can be implemented with the cooperation of government and non-government organization. So working with the National Languages Commission, the Department of Education will work with the National Language Commission from 1987 Constitution to improving the Filipino language. So next we have letter I. The department shall program funds for implementing the policy in such areas as materials production and service, training, compensatory and enrichment program for non-Tagalogs. So groups, support from other groups, the Department of Education will work with the government and private organizations to make this language policy more successful, and to make languages more imposing, and to impose the language. So the Department of Education and the government should collaborate to make this successful. And lastly, we forgot to include it in the PowerPoint presentation. Lastly, we have the letter J. The funding the language policy. So the government will provide money for things like making learning materials, training teachers, helping non-Tagalog speakers, and creating tools to measure student learning. So, in conclusion, the Philippines bilingual education policy plays a pivotal role in shaping our educational framework. It not only fosters proficiency in both Filipino and English language, but also promotes cultural identity and unity among Filipinos. So, understanding this policy helps us appreciate the value of bilingualism in our diverse nation. And I guess that concludes our discussion. I hope you learned something today, and good day.